the best advice from the God that they believe in on how to live their life. And there's very little in there about, if anything at all, about what happens after life. And so the people who are living as Christians by and large in most Orthodox settings aren't at all, you know, the afterlife thing isn't always a primary concern.
Okay, I understand. Okay, that makes sense for that side. Okay, so then what about then the atheist side, as far as like how you'd expect and then how you see them actually live?
Well, we kind of got cheated out of heaven, didn't we? We don't have one. So
no,
if we're going to enjoy,
as far as like
there's two realities.
They believe 100% that when you die, that's it. You would expect to see them live very cautious.
Hold on a minute.
Maybe they are. I don't know that they're not.
Hold on a minute. We got two realities to face here. One, well, first I have to go back to definitions and just remind you that we don't believe anything 100%. Even disbelief isn't necessarily 100%. We're open to have our minds changed. Okay, that's part of the reason we became what we are. But from this perspective, we've got two realities. One, there's no heaven. So if we're going to enjoy existence at all, this is the only existence we've got.
Yeah.
Do you want to enjoy it? And the second thing to realize is, are you going to die? Yeah. Can you get out of it? No. So between now and then, I mean, does it matter how long that is, or does it matter how good that is? And most of the people, fortunately, that I know, it's how good that is. And that matters more.
I don't necessarily know that atheists are more or less cautious in their life. I don't know that there's evidence to even support the original contention, but I'm with Aaron in that it's not what I would expect, and it's not what I see by and large. What I see non-believers doing is trying to live a life that they enjoy and are proud of for however long it happens to last.
Yeah, it took me forever to find. The only way I was able to find two pieces, and there's a lot more to the puzzle than this. I was able to find for smoking and driving without a seatbelt, which I'm sure we can all agree are great ways to end your life early. It was atheists over, I'm not sure if it was just atheists versus Christian or atheists versus people who believe in some type of a God, but it was atheists were more likely to engage in those two activities.
I'm extremely skeptical at this point because you might as well be talking about people with mustaches versus people without mustaches. I think the situation is far more complex than that sort of simple analysis is actually going to find.
Do you disagree with the statistic or what it would imply?
I'm disagreeing with the relevance of the statistic.
Okay, so if we're talking about risk adverseness, smoking and driving without a seatbelt are irrelevant?
I'm saying that they're not relevant to whether or not somebody's a theist or a non-theist.
Right.
No, relevant to if somebody's living a life, their level of risk adverseness.
How they view risk.
I don't even necessarily know that that's accurate either. But
I don't see the relevance either. Whether you believe that there's an afterlife or whether you're not, how does that govern whether or not you're smoking? I don't get it. Most of the people I know who smoke happen to be believers, for whatever that's worth.
No, what I'm saying is that somebody may well understand that driving without a seatbelt or smoking cigarettes is a significant risk, and yet their life is such that it's a relatively innocuous thing that they don't consider, and they could be very, very safe in other areas. You could have somebody who's overly safe, perhaps too cautious in a lot of different areas, but also happens to smoke. I mean, I think you're not looking at enough variables in that statistic to actually have anything meaningful.
Yeah, well, but I'm looking at two variables, and you're looking at none,
though. I'm looking at the two you just presented and saying that's not enough.
Yeah, and I think we're adding more to that.
Well, you're adding the possibility that maybe there's some other variables that would say the opposite, but you have no reason to believe that.
No, I didn't.
Well, actually, I'm saying that I think that there are others, and I have plenty of reason to believe it, if for no other reason than looking at my own life.
Oh, well, yeah, I mean, you can find me one guy. We're talking about statistics. Yeah, I mean, you can find one guy who's the exception, yeah.
I'm not talking about exceptions. I'm saying the statistics don't say what you think they say.
Okay, why don't you conduct a poll aimed at what you're trying to achieve. Create the statistic yourself. See if you can get with a college or something to find some way of producing a statistic that makes sense to you, that conveys the question fairly. Have other people review it to make sure that the demographic that you're inquiring of matches. Is he still there? Is he gone? Oh, good. We don't have to worry about it then.
I'm sorry that I didn't, buy your 2 data point statistic thing as a risk assessment for humanity with respect to theism. I need more. Luke in Birmingham, how are you?
Hello.
Hi.
Hi. Right. I'm just gonna present to you why I choose to believe. Okay. Let me start by saying, firstly, the God that I serve doesn't actually require a human being to know about him or in order for him to be healed by him. See,
in order for him to what?
In order for him to be healed by him.
So you believe in a God that heals, but belief in the God isn't required for healing?
No, and healing from selfishness into selflessness, because we are all born selfish, as I'm sure we can all admit. We're all born selfish, egocentrism. We're all born egocentric, and the opposite is actually the design for life.
Okay,
and,
I just want to make sure I'm understanding you. You believe in a God that can change somebody from being selfish to selfless, but belief in that
right.
God is not required for that transition.
Not necessarily.
That's an interesting question for free will, then.
No. What he will present evidence. Oh, yes. And the next thing I was going to say is this: the God I actually believe in values human freedom more than anything, and is actually willing to die, give his own life, than use his own powers to violate your own freedoms.
Okay.
And that's key. Secondly, the second evidence I have is that.
Whoa.
Wait.
Well, Luke,
you can't have a second evidence until you have a first one.
Okay, yeah, sorry.
There wasn't any evidence. That was just a definition of what you believe.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah,
go ahead.
That's true. Okay, yeah. Okay, then moving on from that, my religion teaches that God is love. And this love is given a definition. It's not an emotion or a warm, fuzzy feeling. It's actually a principle upon which life is based. It is the principle of giving. And it says his nature, this principle of giving, can actually be seen in what he has made. And so if he created this world and his nature is love and he is giving, you can see this in all systems that promote life. And an example of this principle found in nature would be respiration. With every breath that you take, you give out carbon dioxide to the plants. Plants give back, give out oxygen. Give out carbon dioxide to the plants. Plants give back oxygen. It's the principle of giving that sustains life. Furthermore, you can see this example.
Hang on, Luke. Before you get to the furthermore, I mean, you've said God is love and God is nature, and that's all poetic.
No.
That's all poetic stuff. You didn't say that?
I didn't say God is nature. I
Okay.
said his nature can be seen.
You said that your religion teaches
his
that.
nature.
You said your religion teaches that God is
what
love.
Nature?
No, God's nature. God's nature is love. And
God's nature is love, and
You're
then
right.
which is some nice little poetic non-descriptions, and then you say that this is a principle, and then you say that the evidence for this principle is seen in nature through something like respiration. And what I'm going to say to that is that the process of respiration, this synergistic process that you're talking about, where we exhale carbon dioxide that the plants use, that they then provide us with oxygen, that is an entirely material, understood scientific principle that doesn't require love or anything beyond that.
I'd like to also to bring up that this is an important thing to think about. If God's nature is love, and you are apparently, I would assume, one of God's favorite, creations. You are a human being. That means that you're an animal. That means that in order for you to exist, you must consume and digest living cells, as all animals do. So God's nature, according to you, is evident when we see a cheetah outrunning a springbok and tearing it apart. Am I right?
That goes on to prove my point even more, because then my religion also teaches that our planet is infected by an antagonistic principle to his nature that brings death, and this is the principle of selfishness, which is the opposite of love. It's the principle of me first and seeking out